Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling a really key piece of legislation for anyone in construction in Ireland.
That's right. The Safety, Health, and Welfare at Work Construction Regulations 2013, SI 291 of 2013, if you want the official number.
Exactly. And look, it's a dense document. So what we've done is gone through it, pulled out the core stuff, the essentials you really need to grasp about safety, health, and welfare on construction sites.
Yeah, our mission, if you like, is to make this accessible. Not just reading regulations, but understanding the responsibilities and the framework it sets up.
Okay, let's dive in. Part 1 kind of lays the groundwork. The official title, as you said, Safety, Health, and Welfare at Work, Construction Regulations 2013. They kicked in August 1st, 2013.
And the scope is pretty wide, isn't it? It covers construction work.
It does. Pretty much anything involved in building, altering, repairing, demolishing. But, important point, it doesn't cover drilling and extraction in the extractive industries. That's different rules altogether.
And that term construction work itself is defined in Regulation 2. It's detailed. Think new builds, yeah, but also renovations, maintenance, even setting up services like plumbing, electrical. It's comprehensive.
Right. And to get a handle on this, you need to know the players. So the client, that's the person the project's being done for.
Then the contractor, who actually does the work or manages it, and the designer, obviously, who plans it.
And then these crucial roles. The project supervisors. There's one for the design stage, the PSDP,
Project supervisor for the design process.
and one for the construction stage, the PSCS.
Project supervisor for the construction stage. Yeah, they have very specific safety jobs.
We'll definitely be talking more about them. And two key documents keep popping up. The safety file and the safety and health plan. Think of them as the project safety manuals almost.
Absolutely. And these definitions immediately start assigning responsibility. Safety isn't just down to one person, it's distributed. Regulation 3 also talks about keeping records.
Ah, yes, records, inspection reports, training certs, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Needs to be available, easily accessible for inspectors, on-site or nearby. And interestingly, they explicitly allow for electronic records, which makes sense now.
Definitely. Now, Regulation 4 mentions the safety awareness scheme that's in Schedule 4. It applies to most workers on site.
But there's a carve-out, an exception for certain specialists from outside the state, if they're installing or working on specific technical gear, and they're only on site for a short time.
Less than 20 days a year, I think.
That's it. And their employer has to prove they're competent. It's about balancing safety with needing specialist skills, you know?
Makes sense. And Regulation 5 just cleans the slate. It revokes the old construction regulations. So these 2013 ones are the current standard.
Right. That brings us neatly into part 2, which is all about design and management, specifically the appointments.
Yes, Regulation 6. This puts the onus squarely on the client. They have to appoint competent project supervisors, a PSDP before design starts, and a PSCS before construction kicks off.
And these appointments need to be formal, in writing, and the person appointed has to confirm in writing that they accept the role and understand their duties.
But it's not always required, is it? There are exceptions.
Correct. If the project doesn't involve particular risks listed in Schedule 1, or if there's only ever going to be one contractor, or in some specific situations under Regulation 10, but these are specific circumstances.
So for most significant projects, you'll need both a PSDP and a PSCS appointed by the client.
Generally, yes. And the client can appoint themselves or appoint one person or company to do both roles, but only if they are competent to do so.
Competence is key, and timing matters. PSDP before design, PSCS before construction work starts.
And even for, say, domestic projects, maybe a house extension where you might not need the formal appointments under those exceptions, the client still has to ensure any designers or contractors they hire are competent and have the resources to work safely.
That's a crucial underlying duty. And Regulation 7 really drives this home, the client's duty to check suitability.
Yes. Before any work starts, the client needs to be satisfied, reasonably satisfied, that the project supervisors, designers, contractors they appoint have the necessary resources and competence. It's about due diligence.
It sets the tone, doesn't it? Making sure the right people with the right support are in place from the get-go.
Absolutely. Proactive safety management starts right there.
Okay, staying in Part 2, let's look at the client's ongoing responsibilities in Regulations 8, 9, and 10. Regulation 8 is about the safety file.
The safety file. We mentioned it earlier. The client has to keep this file available. It contains safety info needed for any future construction work, maintenance, cleaning, etc.
So it stays with the building.
Essentially, yes. If the building is sold, the safety file needs to be passed on to the new owner. It's the building's safety history in a way.
Got it. Regulation 9 then. That covers cooperation and information sharing.
Primarily about the client cooperating with the project supervisors, providing them with relevant information, especially about the site or existing structures, existing safety files maybe.
And it also mentions the preliminary safety and health plan.
Right. The client needs to provide a copy of this preliminary plan, which the PSDP prepares to anyone they're considering appointing as the PSCS, gives them a heads up on the project's risks.
Makes sense. Then Regulation 10 is about notifying the authorities.
Yes, the Health and Safety Authority, the HSA, if the project is likely to last longer than 30 working days or involve more than 500 person days of labor.
So larger or longer projects.
Exactly. The client has to notify the HSA, basically telling them who the PSDP and PSCS are, project details, etc., before the construction work starts.
Okay, so that keeps the HSA in the loop on bigger jobs.
Precisely. It allows them to allocate their inspection resources effectively.
Right, now let's really focus on the project supervisor roles. First, the PSDP project supervisor for the design process. That's Regulations 11 to 14.
Okay. Regulation 11 lays out their core duties. They have to ensure safety and health are considered right from the design stage, thinking about the general principles of prevention.
Which means things like trying to eliminate hazards rather than just controlling them.
Exactly. Choosing safer materials, designing safer methods of construction or maintenance. They also need to coordinate the work of different designers on the project, make sure they're communicating about safety.
And they need to consider existing safety files or plans.
Yes, take account of those. And crucially, prepare that preliminary safety and health plan we mentioned. That's detailed in Regulation 12.
What goes into that preliminary plan?
It's a key document. It needs a description of the project, the timeline, any specific particular risks, those high-risk activities listed in Schedule 1, and information on things like underground services, overhead lines, etc.
So it flags the major hazards for the PSCS.
That's the idea. It forms the basis for the construction stage safety plan. Then Regulation 13 gives the PSDP the job of preparing the safety file itself.
The one the client keeps afterwards.
That's the one. The PSDP pulls together all the relevant safety information as the design and construction progresses, ready to hand over at the end.
And they have some authority too, right? Regulation 14.
They do. They can issue written directions to designers, contractors, anyone involved, if needed, to ensure compliance with safety duties related to the design.
And if those directions are ignored,
then the PSDP has to notify the authority, the client, and the person who failed to comply. It gives them teeth, essentially.
okay, clear role for the PSDP. What about the designers themselves? Regulation 15 covers them.
Right. Their main duty is also to consider those general principles of prevention during their design work. They need to think about how their design can be built and maintained safely.
So they can't just design something impossible or dangerous to build.
Pretty much. They have to cooperate with the PSDP and PSCS, provide them with necessary safety information, flag any particular risks associated with their design, and make sure the design itself facilitates safe working methods.
Another crucial link in the chain, making sure safety is designed in.
Absolutely. Now, shifting gears to the construction site itself, the project supervisor for the construction stage, the PSCS, their duties are extensive, covered in Regulations 16 through 23.
Regulation 16 is about the safety and health plan for the construction phase.
Yes. The PSCS takes that preliminary plan from the PSDP and develops it into a full-blown site-specific safety and health plan. They need to update it as the project evolves, make sure it addresses those particular risks from Schedule 1, and includes site rules.
And this plan needs to be shared.
Oh, yes. It has to be documented and communicated to contractors and anyone else who needs to know. It's the operational safety guide for the site.
The Regulation 17 sounds like a big one. Coordination duties.
Huge, especially when multiple contractors are on site. The PSCS has to coordinate their activities, ensure everyone's applying the safety rules consistently, organize cooperation, monitor how safety information is being shared.
Sounds like a site manager role, but with a specific safety focus.
In many ways, yes. They also coordinate accident reporting, provide info to the site safety rep, check safety procedures are being followed, and importantly, control access to the site.
A lot rests on the PSCS. Regulation 18 mentions a safety advisor.
Yes. If there are normally more than 100 people working on the site at any one time, the contractor my apologies, checking the text. Regulation 18 puts this duty on the PSCS to ensure a full-time, competent safety advisor is appointed by the contractor in such cases. A subtle but important distinction in responsibility.
Okay, so on large sites, the PSCS ensures the contractor appoints dedicated safety expertise.
Correct. Then Regulation 19 is about coordinating safety awareness and skills certification, things like the Safe Pass card, construction skills cards, making sure workers have them, and checking compliance. That links to Schedules 4 and 5.
So ensuring the workforce is appropriately trained and aware.
Exactly. And like the PSDP, the PSCS also has powers under Regulation 20 to issue written directions regarding safety matters on site.
Same process if ignored. Notify the authority.
Yes. Notify the authority, the client, and the non-compliant party. Then Regulation 21, they coordinate getting information from contractors needed for the PSDP to finalize that safety file.
Closing the loop on documentation.
Precisely. Regulation 22 mirrors the client's duty. The PSCS also has to notify the authority before work starts if the project hits those duration or person day thresholds.
And they have to display a notice on site too.
Yes, F10 notice with project details, contact info for supervisors, etc., visible on the site boundary.
Finally, for the PSCS, Regulation 23, the site safety representative.
A really important role. The PSCS must facilitate the appointment and work of the site safety rep who's chosen by the workers. This means giving them access to the safety plan, reports, letting them attend inspections, consult with them, and properly consider any safety concerns they raise.
So empowering the worker's voice on safety through their representative.
That's the intent. It's crucial for worker engagement.
Okay, that covers the supervisors. Let's move to Part 3, general duties, starting with contractors. Regulation 24 seems like a summary.
It is, in a way. It states their overall duty to comply with the bulk of the regulations, parts 3 to 14, plus specific duties like cooperating with the PSCS, providing them with safety info, like their own safety statement extracts, reporting accidents to the PSCS.
So they report up the chain to the PSCS.
Yes. And they must comply with directions from both project supervisors and implement the safety and health plan on the ground for their own work.
Regulation 25 reinforces their role in worker certification.
Absolutely. The contractor has to ensure their workers have the necessary safety awareness cards, skills cards, and have received a site-specific induction before starting work. And they need to provide written confirmation of this to the PSCS.
So proof of training and induction is required. What about safety officers in Regulation 26?
This applies to contractors who employ more than 20 people on site, or have 30 or more engaged in the construction work in total. They need to appoint one or more safety officers to advise them and monitor safety compliance within their own company's work.
Different from the safety advisor on very large sites.
Yes, this is the contractor's own safety personnel. Regulation 27 is about plant and equipment, making sure anything they bring on site is safe, properly installed, and meets legal standards.
And Regulation 28, consultation.
Vital. Contractors must consult with their employees and safety reps on matters covered by these regulations. Open communication.
Makes sense. Now, Regulation 29 shifts the focus to the individual worker, the employee, and others on site.
Yes, everyone has responsibilities. They need to comply with the regulations, cooperate with employers and supervisors, report defects or dangers they see, follow the site rules and safety plan, use PPE correctly.
And carry their registration cards.
Yes, and show them if asked. And importantly, it prohibits making false statements or forging cards. It emphasizes individual accountability.
Safety is everyone's job, essentially.
That's the message.
Okay, Part 4 then gets into general safety provisions. This looks like a long list, regulations 30 through 50. We probably can't cover every detail, but what are the highlights?
Well, it covers the fundamentals of a safe site. Regulation 30, for example, is about keeping the site itself safe, secure, clearly marked, controlling who comes and goes.
Emergency routes and exits.
That's Regulation 31, clear, unobstructed, properly signed emergency lighting. Regulation 32 covers doors and gates. 33 is about safe traffic routes on site for vehicles and pedestrians, keeping them separate where possible, marking danger zones.
Stability is mentioned too.
Regulation 34, stability of excavations, structures, materials, equipment. And Regulation 35 is crucial protection from falling materials, using collective measures first, like nets or barriers, but also the mandatory use of safety helmets, which need identification marks.
Loading bays, ramps.
Covered in 36. Regulation 37 is about safe use of installations, machinery, equipment, proper maintenance, competent operators.
Some specifics too, like wet paint in Regulation 38.
Yeah, restrictions on handling wet paint containing lead, arsenic, or mercury on iron or steel work. Regulation 39 concerns pile driving helmets. 40 is about adequate lighting, natural and artificial, plus emergency lighting.
Electrocution risk must be big.
Addressed in Regulation 41, Preventing contact with overhead or underground cables, rerouting, barriers, warnings, safe systems of work, proper electrical installations on site.
Even simple things like nails and timber.
Regulation 42 prohibits using timber with projecting nails if it's dangerous and not leaving such materials lying around.
Temporary structures,
Yeah.
fire safety.
Regulation 43 covers temporary structures, design, stability, maintenance. 44 is about safe erection and dismantling of frameworks, preventing collapse. 45 is fire safety detection, fighting equipment, checks, drills.
And general workplace conditions.
Yes, regulations 46 to 49 cover things like floors, walls, ceilings, windows, ensuring adequate space and air quality in indoor workstations. Regulation 50 even covers escalators and travelators, if present. It's a real sweep of basic site safety measures.
It really paints a picture of the breadth of hazards on a typical site. And the regulations continue with even more specific areas, right? Parts 5 through 14.
They do. They get into the real high-risk stuff. Part 5 deals with excavations, shafts, tunnel shoring, inspections, ventilation. Part 6 is cofferdams and caissons, working near or in water.
Compressed air work gets its own part.
Yes, Part 7 is all about compressed air, very detailed rules on medical fitness, pressure limits, locks, supervision. Part 8 covers explosive storage, handling, shot firing procedures. Part 9 tackles general health hazards, chemical, physical, biological exposures, confined spaces, ventilation, temperature. Part 10 is specific to working on or adjacent to water, preventing drowning, rescue equipment.
Vehicles and machinery have their own section, too.
Part 11, yes, transport, earth-moving materials handling, safe operation, traffic routes, preventing rollovers near edges. Part 12 focuses specifically on demolition surveys, supervision, preventing collapse. That's Part 13, Regulation 97, specific safety measures for working on roads or footpaths. And finally, Part 14 covers welfare facilities. The basics, shelters, changing rooms, washing facilities, toilets, drinking water. Regulation 98 to 105 covers all that, including provisions for pregnant women, nursing mothers, and people with disabilities.
Wow. Okay, so stepping back from all that detail, the overwhelming takeaway has to be the comprehensive nature of these regulations. They really aim to cover safety, health, and welfare across almost every conceivable aspect of construction.
Absolutely. It underscores that ensuring safety is a complex, multifaceted task, and it clearly distributes responsibility: the client, the designers, the supervisors, the contractors, and every single worker. Everyone has a defined role.
And certain themes just keep coming up, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Planning is huge, thinking about safety before work starts. Competence, ensuring people know how to work safely. Cooperation and communication, making sure everyone is talking to each other. Risk assessment, identifying hazards and controlling them. And documentation, the safety plans, the safety file records. Having things written down and available.
It's a robust framework. So as we wrap up this deep dive, maybe a final thought for you, the listener. Given how detailed and frankly complex these regulations are, what do you see as the biggest practical challenges in actually getting them implemented consistently and effectively on all the different kinds of construction sites we see?
And perhaps linked to that, even with this strong legal framework, how much really comes down to individual responsibility. That sense of personal ownership for safety by everyone on site, from the top manager to the newest apprentice, definitely something worth considering.